Recently, I've been getting calls from folks asking if I string badminton rackets, and up until today, I've told them no. But starting today, I'm going to teach myself how to string badminton rackets. I've used other YouTube videos and reached out to some of my other professional stringer friends that live in other countries where badminton's played a lot more. We have a few guys that I work with a couple times a year that are Taiwanese. And actually, one of the guys told me he strings more badminton frames at home than he does tennis. So I reached out to him and messaged him a bunch and kind of went back and forth with him telling me about badminton frames and giving some advice on what kind of string to carry and that sort of thing. And I guess today we're going to start learning how to string badminton frames. This is a Yonex Nano Flare 001 clear full graphite racket, head-like balance, 10 millimeters longer. Realistically, I know what headlight means. Don't know what any of it means in regards to a badminton racket. And man, this string is thin and this pattern is tight. So this'll be my experiment and my self-training racket. Got this racket from Badminton Warehouse. Also picked up, should be a third pack of string somewhere in here. I thought. Yeah, it's stuck in the box. There we go. Third pack of string. It is Karakal Nano 68. It is a braided multi-filament, made in Taiwan, designed in England. The gauge is a 0.66 millimeters, so it is like half the thickness of a 17 gauge 120. Well, I guess technically half of a 16 gauge 130 tennis string. So, I don't know, maybe I'll end up buying another set of clamps to just use as badminton clamps. But, try to get the machine set up for this here. Slide the outer arms in. And then I know I'm going to need some load spreaders. I may also have to get the, I think I have longer inner billiards for the Biardos, I think. I'm not perfectly sure, but I swear I have longer inner billiards somewhere. Make sure it's right side up. And feels okay, even though I didn't put the load spreaders on it yet. I'm going to definitely have to do that. But I'm going to get this set up, and then we'll come back and do a little stringing, I guess. All right, I've got the load spreaders put on. I haven't even cut it out yet. I went through and wrote down the pattern the way I see it and the way I would do it, like looking at a tennis racket that I don't know. I also went on Yonex's website and got the pattern from them. This string is terrifyingly thin. It's like fishing line as opposed to like weed eater line for regular tennis strings. I'm planning on cutting it out mounted just to have some load off the frame. I've seen some videos on YouTube of people cutting out badminton frames. It looks like you just kind of go bottom corner to top corner. Hopefully that's right, I guess. We're going to find out. That's not super reassuring either, that it basically takes nothing to cut this string. Doesn't make me feel real good about what clamps are going to do to it. And everything I've kind of read on badminton stringing shows a bunch of scratch string. Sort of all of the videos show a bunch of scratch string. So I'm just going to take all of this string that's coming out of this and set it off to the side for usage as scraps if I need them, and we'll see what happens here. This is now we're in the danger zone, friends, because now there's no turning back. The racket doesn't have string in, and granted, I guess I could not be able to do it and spent the money to get a racket and some practice string just to not be able to do it, but everybody says it's not terrible, just a little more time consuming than tennis rackets due to the density of the patterns and the stringing of it, but string is just awful thin. I mean, make fun of 20 gauge Solenko and say that it feels like angel hair noodles because it's so thin, but this is just puts that to shame. This is more like dental floss. I did also get a string length recommendation from my Taiwanese friend that does a lot of these, and he gave it to me in meters. It was like 5 and some change, and maybe 5.2, and then 4.5 for the crosses. So obviously, being American, I converted that to feet using Google. And that comes out to something in the ballpark of 17 feet and 15 feet. So I'm not incredibly confident in my measuring of those lengths by hand. Got a tape measure out here, and I'm going to measure out my mains real quick. Oh, the string is so thin. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. Oh, this string is super thin. It's terrifying. Don't feel good about it. Didn't feel good about it when I ordered it, but you know, can't keep turning down these phone calls if I'm gonna make it to 300 this year. Hopefully the string is much stronger than it feels, because it again certainly does not feel like it. And you know, kind of questioning my life trying to string this on a Bayardo. As much as I love the machine, I don't see folks on the internet stringing badminton on a Bayardo, even though the Bayardo's added this sliding table to be able to do badminton. God awful thin. And I'm going to use some scrap string to ridiculous. So thin. Go kind of 90 degrees on the clamp there. I don't know. I'm going that tight for now, and we'll see what it does on a hope and a prayer here. I'm at 22 pounds, and I'm about ready to start, and I'm going to put it in high speed mode so you don't have to hear the panic in my voice and the 4-letter words that could potentially be involved here. Mains are mains. From everything I've seen online, you double pull the center mains and then get them clamped and then re-single pull. So that's what I did here. As you can see, I had to stop and check the pattern a few times because it's hard to read the pattern on a badminton racket to me, especially since this is my first one. And this one's a little odd, and maybe it's not, but it's like a reverse fan pattern. It gets tighter at the top than it is at the bottom. And then you also have to loop back around the outside for the main. So it was a little confusing, and I had to keep checking it. And then when I started to do the crosses, I had to stop and find another YouTube video and figure out if I could actually use a starting clamp on this, because I wasn't sure how to start it and how much like pressure on the outside these thin little rackets would hold. But got that done, and then discovered the joys of weaving this super thin string in a 22 by 22 pattern in this tiny little head. But all in all, not as bad as expected. Well, friends, I have finished my first ever badminton racket that I strung. As you could see in the video, there's some checking the sheet, because the badminton patterns don't really look like anything in tennis. It's almost a reverse fan pattern, like they're wider at the bottom than they are at the top. And I may need to like check into a knot. I didn't really know what to use with a string this thin. Like I've said in some of the other videos, typically with thin tennis strings, I use a Parnell knot. So I went Parnell knot on these, but I don't know if that's a typical badminton knot. I feel pretty good about it and how that went. And I guess maybe I put the load spreaders on upside down, but I think they did what they were intended to do, because I didn't snap the racket off. The 22 by 22 is certainly, and in this tiny little head, is certainly a very dense pattern, and my weave technique that is very efficient for tennis rackets isn't necessarily incredibly efficient for badminton. I guess that's why you see most of those guys just kind of push the tip through. And there may be a couple other tools that I need to get to really be proficient and start stringing a lot of these. And honestly, while I'd like to string a few, I don't really know how many of these I want to string. I don't even know what these things are supposed to sound like. I feel like the string job's good. I feel like I tried to limit my crossovers on these, same as I would on a tennis racket, and try to stack the strings properly. There are a couple weird crossovers, and some of that's based on the racket having so many shared holes. Some of that's just based on, this is the first one I've done, and I was just trying to put the strings through the holes, make sure the pattern was right, and make sure the tension was correct. I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I would definitely string one of these for money, even though I think this racket took the better part of probably 45 minutes with this really thin string and me not knowing the pattern and having to stop in the middle and watch a YouTube video. If you have any suggestions for YouTube creators or specific videos to watch to help with my badminton stringing, that'd be awesome. Please leave them in the comments. If you have any questions, unfortunately, I don't really have any answers other than specific to this racket and string and what I did on it. So asking me about badminton stringing and badminton rackets isn't probably necessarily something to be done just yet. I've done a lot of reading, but doesn't mean I actually know anything. I'm happy with the results. I definitely feel confident that I can string these rackets going forward for other people. If you know how to check the tension on these things, if you know what am I supposed to ping this thing against? Supposed to just use like an awl? Like, what's it supposed to sound like? What am I supposed to do? How can I make sure that my tension on this is actually good? I strung this one at 22 pounds because my buddy kind of told me the range was like 20 to 25 typically, and the Yonex website I think on this one said 20 to like 27. That's really all I got. Thanks for watching this experiment happen, and see you guys next time, more than likely with a tennis racket rather than a badminton racket.